Hi, hello, welcome everyone. So, I came up with this immediately today, so do not worry if I am going to be a little bit kind of all over the place. I'll try and make this into a video for the main channel, but it will be up on the VOD's channel as well, so I'm gonna just preface that right here. But today is the first thing of me doing Art Teaches Art, where I just teach you random things that I want to talk about or teach. So today is gonna be character design, the basics. I will go over what we are going to talk about, what we are not going to talk about, what we are going to briefly discuss, and all in between. I will say this much, this is definitely more of an intermediate course. I am not going to be teaching you the basics of like how to do anatomy, all that sort of stuff. I think that there are way better people to teach that than me. So there's a lot of other information out there that you can find, but this is something that I feel that when it comes to a lot of things, that character design is something that's very, very much important, and something that I think a lot of people don't really grasp or understand very well, because I don't think it's talked about very well of how you are supposed to do character design from basic understanding to what it is, right? Because I think that a lot of people or a lot of artists, when they're talking about character design, kind of forget that maybe you're not talking to a very seasoned artist. So I'm gonna try and break it down as much as possible for you guys, and in the VOD that goes up on, so the full VOD of this will go up on the YouTube. If you do want to ask questions, I will try and answer any comments in the YouTube videos. I will try and answer anybody here live in the video that I will post up if I edit this down a little bit more for the main channel. I will also answer any questions. I will say this much. First and foremost, character designing is not my job. Okay, I will say this much. What I am teaching is breaking it down into an understandable way that I have had to break down myself from professionals. So I have learned from professionals, from professional character artists and character designers, character concept artists. I am taking them and breaking their lessons down into much more easier and more manageable ideas and questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to character design. At the end of the day, that is what I am teaching. I am not an industry professional. If you want more in depth, there are other industry professionals that do character design if you want to go more in depth besides the basics. I'm trying to think of a few here. One VTuber is Squeegee. Squeegee, they are a character artist. That is their professional job. So you can definitely go and look at all of their videos, and they talk about character design here and there. They talk also a lot about other art stuff, but they also have done some videos on like VTuber character design. And the reason that I'm mainly doing this is because character designing and VTubing designing is exactly the same thing. So this can even help you to be able to enhance your character design more, or maybe make it more simplistic, okay? At the end of the day, this is just a nice kind of lesson thing. I don't know how far we will go. I do have a character that we are going to use so that you can kind of see how my thought process is. And be in mind, every artist has a different thought process, a different way of how they achieve their character designs. So we're going to kind of just go over it very slowly and piece it together from there. And you'll even see me mess up a lot. There's not going to be, none of these character designs are going to be overly good, okay? We are concepting, there's nothing that's concrete. but you'll see how I take certain languages and certain things that I will talk about and then build it up to make that final design. Again, if you have any questions, you can ask it in the chat. You can use George to ask me a question if I missed it, if I'm like focused on something. You can say, hey, someone has a question. You can use George to ask a question so that then I can hear it. So please just asking questions. And again, I will be putting this up as a video on the VOD's channel as well. So if there's anybody that has questions in there, feel free to ask. I will try to answer to the best of my abilities. If I feel that somebody else can answer you better, I will make sure to place that person's name in there, or like a channel that you can check out that I feel might help you in answering your question better. Okay, I'll try to do my best. Okay, I'm a very busy woman, unfortunately, but I will try to do my best to answer everybody's questions. There's definitely a few people that are definitely more industry professionals that I feel like can answer your questions. So, without any further ado, we're gonna go into it, and talk about what we're gonna talk about, what we're not gonna talk about, and what the lessons will entail. Okay, so without any further ado, we're gonna go over, because I have this all written. I quickly wrote this all down, so excuse if the writing is a little messy. So let us go. So here we are. I know, blank screen, don't worry about it. So we're going to talk about character design. We're going to talk about what we're going to do, and what we're going to talk about in general. So first off, welcome to Character Design Basics. Hello, welcome. This is Character Design Basics with Art, who is an artist and has been doing art for a number of years at this point. I've been doing this for over a decade of creating my own characters, going to university, getting a degree in art. Now, to be fair, I know I got a degree in art, but my degree specifically is for 3D game art. However, I did have to take classes into that of character design and also concept art and concept art design and all of that sort of stuff. The other thing is, I've been making my own characters for about a decade or two at this point. So I took from the industry professionals what I was doing and enhanced my character design from the help of industry professionals, and also my own knowledge and understanding of what people are. So of who people are, and doing that. I know that sounds super complicated. I know that even though that my profession is in that of 3D game art, it doesn't mean that I don't have some knowledge and understanding of that of character design. I did have to take a lot of character design classes and also animation courses and also figure drawing to understand anatomy, so on and so forth. I took a lot of classes. I did a lot of art in art school. Yeah, I mean, wow, you do art in art school. So those are kind of my credentials. So that's my professionalism there. So things we will cover, and these are things also that I feel are very important to cover. So these are the basics. These are basics. I misspelled clothes. Just ignore that. Ignore that I misspelled clothes. So things that we will cover. Shape language. What is it? How does it impact, oh, hold on a minute. I need to zoom out a little bit. How does it impact a character's design? And like what is shape language? Because I feel like a lot of industry professionals will say, hey, think about shape language. Not a lot of people discuss what shape language is. We'll go over what shape language is. We'll also discuss how it impacts a character's design, why shape language is important, and you don't have to have something super stylized in order to get that shape language across. You can even have it be in anime, in more of a humanistic style as well. You can still have shape language in it. We might look at some characters, so I might bring in some character designs. I unfortunately wasn't quick enough to do it, but I have one a few in mind for bringing in. Okay. Next is going to be silhouette, which I like to call character identification. That is what a silhouette is. Silhouettes are basically a simple, easy way for you to go, how can I tell which each character is and who they are? Silhouette is like a fingerprint for characters. If you cannot tell the difference between one character and another, it means that they have very similar silhouettes, and you might want to go in and change it. Even characters, or like let's take animals for example. So in 101 Dalmatians, even though that the dogs are all the same, you can definitely still tell which dog is which dog because their silhouette is a little bit different from each one. Also, the spots help, but that's also another thing of design, because they're technically already in silhouette, but then all the black dots, you can tell the difference between which dog is which because all their dots are different. So, also I say RIP to the guy that had to do all the dots by hand, because you have to remember this is before digital and they did all that by hand. There's one person that had to do all the dots. He was in charge of making all those dots. So pray for that man because he did amazing work. Lastly is kind of combining shape language and silhouette, which is going to be their clothes. Why does the character wear this? Because I think that a lot of people do question why a character wears a certain type of clothing. So, you know, that I feel like it's a kind of important thing. Unless your character doesn't want to wear clothes, or maybe they're an animal, then this doesn't really matter. But I would say that most of the time with character designs, you're doing humanistic designs. That means you're doing more human-like or humanoid character design. Now, of course, character design can encompass animals, creatures, monsters, beasts, whatever. So, shape language and silhouette can still apply to creature design. It can still apply to animal design. It can still apply all to that. Clothes kind of only really matters if you're doing a humanistic design, unless, you know, oh, well, they don't have something. Like, for example, Shape of Water, the main male lead for that is a fish dude. He doesn't have clothes, but he does still have a lot of shape language to him, even though that he is a humanoid. So, things we're gonna briefly cover. I say briefly because the particular character that we are going to be doing is going to have some very unique anatomy, okay? At least with the character we're doing, but I'll also cover, like, other anatomy. So, first off, is the character human? No? Okay, what is the character? So again, creature design, so on and so forth. My thing about anatomy, if you're going to be doing things with anatomy, use references, get to know what the animal is like, or creature is like, or whatever you kind of want to do. Now, references are always good, but don't rely on references completely. There are some people that rely on references completely and have this dominance of just always using references every single time. References aren't bad, but don't become too reliant on them. Even I pull up references here and there for different things. But I try not to rely on it too much because I want to still be able to create my own poses or my own characters or my own bodies and my own things. So I've kind of like said, screw references because sometimes they never have what I'm looking for. So there's that. Another thing with anatomy is, are they from another part of the world? Different people are going to have different anatomy. If you look at a black person, they're going to have a little bit of a different facial shape than that of a white person. So you're going to have to change what they're going to look like. So their noses could be different, maybe, and even on like my characters in my comic, their ears are different. Even sometimes their body shape is different because they're from different places. It creates a more unique and diverse community of characters or even just creature designs. Because if you look at Monster Hunter is really great at this because you can tell which creature is from which area because they have different things about them. So so you're not going to see Mitsukuni, who is a water and aquatic thing, in all the way over in Azusa, where it's all fire. Like, you're not gonna see Mitsukuni there. It doesn't make sense for Mitsukuni to be out there. So that is a few things. Now we're also gonna go over color. Is the color significant? This is like color schemes. This is like, you know, when you're trying to pick colors for your character. You know, is the color significant? I.e., or for example, white wedding dress, you know, or red, because red is for some weddings in different cultures, right? So depending on different things, you're gonna get different stuff. Cool. And then we're also gonna talk about how to limit a color palette, because I'm gonna be honest here, unless your character is like a decora fashionista, they're not gonna or should not have a ton of color unless, you know, that is part of the character design, right? So we're gonna talk about how to limit a color palette and kind of going about that. There also is a way to check to make sure that the color palette isn't kind of overpowering, like certain colors aren't overpowering other colors, but there's like a simple way of how you do that. It's very easy. Or when in doubt, you can also use, there's a website called color.io, and you can find a color palette that way. Find certain colors that you like, put them together, and it will find you matching colors that will work with that color. And you can put however many colors you want. You can add as many as you want. It'll give you the hex code for them, and it will give you like the base color. So that then you can just like take a picture of it and then put it into whatever drawing program you're in or whatever. You can download it. Cool. Again, that's color.io, and it's COLOR, not the British spelling of the OUR. It's color spelled the American way. And I think it's .io. You know what? Let me look this up because I bet it. Color. Oh. No. Okay, it's another one. I thought it was color.io, but I'm wrong. Again, take what I say with a grain of salt. Is it? What the heck is the color swatching thing? I literally am gonna look colored swap generator. Oh, colors! Colors! Okay. Okay, hold on. It's colors. So I was right. It was colors.co, but it was not color. It's colors. Plural. .co. Oh, cool. What the heck? Why do they spell it as coolers? So it's COLORS.co. You can either explore or you can make your own palette. And it's just a generator. It just generates colors. You can put however many that you want or however few you want. And again, these will already be set up, so all the colors will work good together. The thing about a color palette is that the color palette will work together. That's what you're focusing on. I'm gonna put this link in here, and I'll put it in the live chat here, and then I will also put it in the description of the video as well. So I'm gonna keep that up. So that is how you can get quick color palettes. It's very simple, very easy. Now again, you can always make your own color palette if you don't like the colors from there, but if you want something quick, something easy, that is a way to do it. All right. Now, number one big thing to make your characters feel more alive, alright? Because this is something that I don't see a lot of character designers talking about. I don't. I really don't. I see it very rarely. Very, very rarely do I see it. World building. Where are your characters from? And when are they from? That's also important. When are they from? So, if you're making a character and they're from Victorian England, right? Why are you putting them in a crop top? Like, it doesn't make sense. Okay? If they're supposed to be from Victorian England, why are they wearing a crop top? It doesn't make sense in the wide scheme of things. It doesn't, it just, like, cool for character design, not so well when you're trying to explain their backstory, alright? So we have some issues here, some problems. Now, what will this exactly impact when you're thinking about this kind of stuff? Well, it's going to impact their clothes. Where they're from and when they're from is going to impact their clothes. It's also going to affect maybe their base body shape or anatomy. And of course, lastly, it's going to affect their color scheme. Now, the reason some people might be like, what do you mean it'll affect their color scheme? Well, if you're going to be saying, oh, this character is from, I'm going to just say Egypt, because this will make sense, okay? And more of like Arab-ish country or that of Northern Africa. It's going to get hot. It's a desert, right? So it's going to affect what they wear. If you look at what most people wear in Egypt, you'll see that they wear a lot of very kind of lighter but flowier clothing, okay? And the reason is because the flowiness of their clothes actually cools them. The other thing that you will notice is that they don't really wear many dark clothes. They wear a lot of lighter clothes, meaning like light colored clothes. You're gonna probably see more whites than you are gonna see more blacks, because white kind of, even though absorbs a lot of light, it does reflect it back a lot more, whereas black very much absorbs all kind of color wavelengths and can make you very hot. So you're going to be wearing probably more whiter or tanner clothes than, or maybe even browns, than you will wear blacks. So that is an example. So when you're thinking about world building, it also helps to know where the character's from, or, you know, when they are from. So it's like, you know, what is like, are you going to have them be in like medieval times kind of situation? Are we going to go with medieval magic sort of situation? Okay, look at clothes from the time period that you're thinking about and then apply that. If you want a sort of understanding of how this works, literally look at Genshin Impact. I'm not even joking. Look at character designs from Genshin Impact. Don't look at Natlan. Natlan is the worst one. Everyone else is fine. Everyone else is literally fine. But yeah, don't look at Natlan. Natlan I don't think is a good concept. I think the first 3 earlier characters are kind of good, but the rest of them are not. Because they kind of begin to not really make sense, considering that the time period of Genshin Impact looks like it's supposed to be more of like back in the day kind of fantasy time than like modernish. Modernish, if you want more modernish, like sci-fi-ish stuff, I would say like stuff in the vein of Honkai Star Rail. I'm trying to think of other shows. I'd say also Castlevania is a good one to look at for character designs. You can also look at a lot of anime as well for character designs of like variety of different stuff. There's a lot of things out there. After Last Airbender also does it, and also shows like how modernism also kind of like changes the style of people. So you can also go and look at that as well. Again, look at a bunch of different character designs from different places. Please do that. That's going to help you so much more with understanding and give you more understanding of like what you're going to do. Okay. So, these are the things that we're going to be talking about, okay? So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So, I have a character here. I'll show you. This is what we're starting with. Okay. Yes, I am going to use 3D models, and I will tell you this. From industry professionals, okay? Come here. Industry professionals use 3D models too. They trace a lot. Why? Because you got to get the project done. You got to get it done. So they do have 3D models that they do use for characters. This is not a thing. And even when I was doing my work and I was working in Clip Studio and doing my 3D work, or like doing like the 3D models, and I showed them like, oh yeah, this is part of the program. They're like, oh wow, that's like basically what industry professionals use. And I was like, yeah, you can go in and you can change everything with the model, and you can make them pose and different things. And they're like, oh, that's like great. That's what we use. Now, of course, yes, you should still know anatomy, okay? The 3D models can only take you so far. And you're gonna see with this particular character that this 3D model is only gonna take me so far. I have to draw the rest on my own because I need to know anatomy. One thing I will say and specify specifically, within character design, if you are making a humanistic character, you really need to know anatomy. A lot of figure drawing kind of exaggerates certain parts of anatomy, so I'll just tell you that much. When it comes to doing figure drawing, a lot of times you'll see gesture drawings and silhouette things, and they're usually kind of exaggerating certain parts. That's pretty common. Even I've done that. If I took pictures of some of my figure drawing stuff, the problem is that I can't show most of that stuff because unfortunately they are nude figures, so I can't show. Not to say that I didn't draw the other parts. We don't. That's not a thing in figure drawing. We don't draw that. It's just I don't want to get flagged by Twitch, because unfortunately that's how it is. I don't also want to get flagged by YouTube, so unfortunately I cannot show them. But a lot of figure drawing classes, so I'll show you really quickly. I'll go over to the character design here. So a lot of times with figure drawing, and you'll see this a lot. I'm trying to think of a pose really quickly. Or you know what? I have a pose here. Here, we'll use this one as reference. This is something I was working on earlier. We are going to talk about some stuff. That's why I have this up here. We are going to talk about some shape language with this. So that's why I left this up. Yes, this is me drawing myself as the main character, Mel, for Hades 2. Yes. Don't worry about it. Now you can kind of get a gauge on what time that we were doing this. This is the day before, no, 2 days before Hades 2 drops. Because Hades 2 drops on Thursday, I'm streaming this on Tuesday. On the Tuesday before it happens. So we're going to talk about some shape language, but we're going to take this pose, okay? So this pose, you know, is the way that it is. And within that of character design I'm on the wrong stuff. Within that of figure drawing, most of the time you'll just see people take the figure. And again, in figure drawing, a lot of the times when you're drawing a character like this, there you go. That's figure. That's a figure. That's figure drawing. It's very much sketchy. It's quick. It's whatever. And then, you know, you might come back in here once you're done. Man, I did that in like a few seconds. Damn. But this is normally how I do poses, is I'll make like a quick figure drawing like kind of thing, and then I kind of put the 3D over it just to like change it up a little bit, but I usually go in and like fix it myself, because again, 3D model can't do everything, but the 3D model helps with pose and keeping the volume of the characters. So That's another thing with character design, but that's like if you're animating and stuff like that, like keeping character consistency, all that sort of stuff. We're just talking about basic design. All right. So yeah. So we're gonna start with this character. Hold on. I'm talking a lot, so I gotta drink more water. I made sure to fill up all my water. Maybe during a break I will get more water so that I don't run out. Because we have a lot of talking to do. This is probably going to be one of my chattiest streams ever. So first off, we're going to take this character. So this character is named Golith. They are from an underground race of people. Now, I originally didn't want to kind of pull in some design inspiration from... does anyone remember... Does anyone remember Legend of Zelda? Does anyone remember the Gorods? Or the Gorons, sorry. It's been a while since I played Legend of Zelda. Don't shoot me. I love Legend of Zelda, okay? So I didn't want to pull anything from them. However, I kind of thought more about his character design. I thought more about him, and I was like, I don't think that he's enough of a rock person. Because the thing is about his people... And we're going to go back to our little character design here. So, what was it? Here we go. World building. Where are they from? When are they from? I already know the when are they from. They are from, like, kind of a medieval-ish, or, like, definitely do not have modern technology. I would say that they don't have modern technology. It's wartime. They don't have it. Okay? Where are they from? They are from mountain ranges, specifically within that of the mountain range. Now, there is another group of people that live underground, but they live deeper than where these people live. So there is a difference in them. Now, Golith's particular race is that of the... I call them the Goliaths, but I may change that name. They are rock people. So, if they are rock people, then that leads to the question of, are they, the anatomy. Are they human? Not really. Humanoid, yes. But are they human? No. They are from a different part of the world, and we're gonna input that into them as well. So the first thing that we're gonna do is talk about shape language. So shape language is really important when you're asking what is the personality of this character. So even though that we have this 3D Golith here, you're gonna see me change him. Okay, he will be changed. We're gonna kind of put him down a little bit, because I don't want to focus on that. I might actually turn him off. So, shape language. All right. Actually, I might do this in here. Shape language. Let's talk about that. So, you have a circle. You have a triangle. And you have a square. These are the basis of shape language, all right? A circle, what do you think of when you think of a circle? It's round. Round equals soft. So you're going to think that the character is going to be more soft. You're also going to get that this character is kind. You're also going to probably get that, this character is definitely approachable. I know I probably spelled that incorrectly. All right? We're moving on. So, whenever you see a shape language of this, it usually is indicating that this person is definitely kind. It never usually means anything more nefarious or anything like that. Rounder shapes equal friendly. So another way, again, kind, friendly. Spelled that wrong. No, I spelled it right. Apparently I don't know how to spell friend right. No, I was spelling that wrong. So friend, like friendly. You're gonna think that they're friendly. Now, you might be like, okay, can see that. You know, that's why a lot of, you'll see a lot of grandmas, you know, a lot of people that are supposed to be friendly. You'll see a lot of roundness into their design. One of the great ways I can say this is, if you guys remember Up, Up is great for looking at the difference in character design. Ellie has much more roundness to her. She's a very round. She has a lot of round and ovals. She's very soft looking compared to Carl, who has a lot of more boxier shapes. So what does box mean? Box shapes is stubborn. They are stubborn. They are not moving. They are like a box, okay? So I would say unmoving. I would say stuck in ways, like, you know, stuck in their ways. Very traditional, you could say even. So I'm trying to think of what else. I would say, like, oh my gosh, solid. Solid is one way. Another character that has it, but he has very round, squarish designs, and that is Klaus from Klaus. If you've ever watched the animated movie Klaus on Netflix, you will, of course, see it. Go and look up Klaus. It's Klaus, Klaus. Go and look up that movie. Go and look up the character designs. Klaus has a very squarish design. He's very big, but he's more of like solid, unmoving. It also does make him look like a giant titan, but he also has a lot of round designs to him. He's very, even though that he's square, he also still has some roundness to him. Even though that it's squared, but rounded squares to give the softness and approachableness. Okay? So that's a way of how you can combine shape language. So you don't have to have them be solid shape language. You can make them more than that, and you can combine shapes together to make a more unique shape. We'll go over that in a second when we talk about silhouettes, and combining those shapes. Now, the last thing is triangles. So there's a lot of harsh edges here, okay? And it's also, depending on how you put the triangle, it's gonna give a more unevenness to it, right? So sometimes there's people that have this kind of thing are more shifty. They have things to hide, so, you know, hide. Oh, that's not how you spell hide. Hide things. Sometimes triangles are more reserved for, like, villains, so, like, for villain designs. Like, evil, like, very, very triangle shapes. I would say if you watch Sleeping Beauty, I'm talking about the animated Sleeping Beauty, okay? Okay, the animated and Maleficent, I think both follow the same shape language. Maleficent has very, very angular designs. She's very, very triangle. Because she's supposed to be, like, evil, shifty, hiding things. Now you might be like, oh, but what about Phineas and Ferb, who has, like, a giant triangle? And I'm like, as a head. And I'm like, well, the reason that he has a giant triangle on his head, if you think about it, for him in particular, it kind of makes sense. Because he's always kind of, like, hiding his extreme amount of knowledge, if you think about it. So he's always kind of being a little bit shifty in that sort of way. Whereas, like, you know, his brother, Ferb, is very, very square. And is, like, even though, like, he's not really unmoving because he goes along with what his brother says, but he's very stoic, right? He doesn't very talk much. He's very just, like, set, gonna do his task and get it done. So again, character design works. It just works. And again, you can have it be very, very simple, or you can make it very, very complex, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into character silhouettes. Again, this is all learning, and then we're gonna apply it. So this is just the teaching moment, but if you want to get to the applying stuff, I'll probably put timestamps into the YouTube video. I will take time out of my day after the stream to do that. I don't know how long this stream will be, because I'm mainly just focusing on doing this, because I just kind of want to do it. I was just like, you know what? I want to do this today. Man, it is gonna be hot today. It's 86 in here, and I got my fan going. Maybe what I might have to do is get up at one point and go and grab my stand fan in order to blow some more air in here, because it's hot. I know I'm normally hot, but it's a lot more hot than usual. Alright. So, we're going to talk about silhouettes. So, you know, I'm going to take my thing about Phineas and Ferb. So, Phineas has kind of this triangle design to him. You know, I'm going to use like a bigger, there we go. Because we're talking about, he has like a roundish ear. He has some hair up here. It's been a long while since I've watched Phineas and Ferb. But I know that he has kind of a... Actually, I think that's pretty spot on with his silhouette. So, this is Phineas. And then, of course, we have his brother. So we're going to put Ferb in here. So Ferb is... Honestly, I'm not even joking. Ferb is like this. You can kind of see his nose, and then he has his hair, and then he has his legs. He's got a very, very much more squarish design. But as you can see, I think even without me saying anything, you can identify who these characters are, right? If you said Phineas and Ferb, you're correct. Well, I already said that I was drawing Phineas and Ferb, but you're correct. This is Phineas and Ferb. I don't have to really do anything more than this to tell you that it's Phineas and Ferb. Because the character designs themselves can tell you that. Now, I'm going to break down their silhouettes and their shape language. So Phineas, of course, has the triangle. He also definitely has a kind of triangle shape to his body here. And then he has a kind of squarish shape to his legs. And then he kind of has like a circular arm design here, whatever. He does have a roundish ear. And then he has his pointed hair on top. This is how you break down a shape language. And by the way, breaking it down will help you to be able to draw the character, okay? So shape language also just helps simplify a character design. That's another reason why we use shape language. Shape language is just easier to break down that particular... I hit my mic with my pen. It's just easier to break down that character. And then, of course, Ferb. He has his... Phineas... yeah. So Phineas and Ferb. He has his... he has his head... He has a roundish nose, roundish ear, because he has a lot of roundness. Again, approachable. Round equals approachable. And then he's got his legs. He also's got his arm here, his hand. There. So, even though I have never drawn Phineas and Ferb before until now, I'm not joking, I haven't. I can still break down their shapes pretty simply. Now, their character design is very much a stylized character design. So you can usually get away with a lot because, you know, you're talking about stylized characters. I will say this much, you still need to know anatomy in order to break anatomy. So that's why I'm not discussing anatomy, because that's more of like really beginner course. This is like an intermediate. So breaking down character shapes and character designs will help you to be able to recreate the character, but also understand kind of how professionals and how other people are doing character design and how you can break it down for yourself. So, now that we've taken that, what are we going to do with our character? Where are we going to start? Because I think that a lot of people wonder, where do you start? Okay. A lot of people will go, I know where to start. Yep. That's how you start. That's how you start character design. Welcome. You started your character. Yeah, you gotta think of a pose to put them in. Like, how else you gonna do the character, right? So yeah, of course the first thing is poses, right? But the thing is cool. What does the character look like? Well, you're gonna have to make the character. So again, taking all of our stuff of shape language and also silhouette, which we will go over really quickly, because again, silhouette design, you can identify that this is Phineas and Ferb without me saying that it's Phineas and Ferb, right? You can identify these characters without me telling you what these characters are. If I probably did another character, let me do another character that I think that you guys will like. Could you identify which character this is? If you said Perry the Platypus, you are correct. But, of course, he's not in Agent P form. But again, let's go into breaking down these characters, right? Very simple, roundish shape, round, square. I would say triangle, triangle. And then he's got triangle feet. And then he's got like circular. And there you go. That's how you break him down. That's all he is. Now, you can still be able to tell what his character is, but I'm breaking him down so you can see all the shapes that make up that silhouette. So it makes the silhouette identifiable. Because at the end of the day, that is all a silhouette is. It is a way to identify a character. Okay? If I brought in VTubers, I'm betting that I could literally show you with how they do their design that you can identify certain characters. And actually, you know what? I'm going to quickly do one. I'm going to quickly draw a character, and they're going to be a VTuber. Well, they're... If you can identify who this is without me telling you who they are, you win. Oh, wait, I forgot something. Can you tell? It's Gargura. I know that they technically have very simplistic designs, but if I said, hey, I'm drawing a VTuber, I feel like immediately when I put that tail on, you immediately knew that it was Gargura. I think Gargura also has a shark. She has like a thing on her. I don't think she does. No, she does. She has like the things here. There you go. That's Gargura. I forgot those. But again, even with Gargura, if I break these down, so she's got a round. She has a very triangle, angular design. And then she's got her little legs and her feet. There you go. So, again, it's not that difficult to be able to break down things into very simplistic shapes. And even with characters, we're gonna have this character here, right? Even with characters, you're gonna break this down into shapes, right? So this is the torso. You know, you're gonna have the legs here. You're gonna have the knee. You're gonna have the lower part of the leg, the thigh. You're gonna have the upper arm here. You're gonna have this. You're gonna break this down. You're gonna break this down. This is all anatomy. This is all anatomy. Look at that. Now you have like more of a human that has meat on their bones and not just a skeleton, right? So even with anatomy, we have to break down the human body with shapes. And most of the time, people have a differencing of opinions of the torso specifically. This is a hot button topic. Some people use circles for the torso. Some people use a box. To me, it depends on if they are masculine or feminine. So if they're more masculine, I'm going to use a box. If they're more feminine, I mostly use a circle. And the reason being is because we're mimicking the torso. We're mimicking the rib cage, which is circular. That's why it's a hot button topic. Again, everybody has their own stuff. So sometimes they do that, or sometimes they just use a box. Depends how they kind of want to do it. I do this line here to tell that the torso is like, you know, it's turned sideways. You'll see a lot of times when people are breaking sketches and stuff down, this is kind of how they break it down. We might go over anatomy or like breaking down the human body maybe another time with anatomy and such like that. So we might have an anatomy course. We probably should have done the anatomy course before doing character design course, but I wanted to do character design because I think that a lot of people usually have questions and stuff like that. Usually with anatomy courses, a lot of people kind of are just like, yeah, whatever, science. Science rules. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Yeah, love Bill. Grew up on Bill. Remember science class, Bill Nye the Science Guy. That's how you knew it was going to be a good day, when they put on Bill Nye the Science Guy. We miss you, Bill. Man, I'm gonna be honest. If I ever did science stuff, I would love for Bill Nye to come on, man. That would be awesome. Yo, VTubers, why haven't you hit up Bill Nye? Sorry. We gotta get off topic here and there, but that's okay. Alright, so we need to figure out a character design for this guy. Now, the thing is I'm going to actually use him to kind of kick off how I kind of want to build him. Because the thing is, his height is correct. Everything else about him, I hate it. So, what are we going to do exactly? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this character. We're going to take this 3D model. Let me just like zoom in a little bit more. We're going to take this 3D model. We're going to take this base and we're going to put more clay on it. You might be like, what? We're going to put more clay on it. We're going to add to it. Because I don't really like how this is. I want a different body shape, right? So if you're starting from nothing, what you can do is you can go, hey, I want this character to be so much tall. Cool. Bring in that like 3D model or however heads tall you want the character to be. And then just start doing stuff. So I'm going to use this 3D model just to kickstart it off because it's the height that I want, but it's not really the body shape I want. So we're going to go over it and we're going to use that of the principles of silhouette, and we're going to also use the principles of shape language specifically to get what we want. So one thing I want is I want him to be a big, hunky guy, but not hunky in the sense of like a hunk. Like, I want him to be big and bulky, but round. And you might be wondering, why round? Because I want him to be also a little bit of a father figure. So I want him to be more approachable. So how are we going to do that? Well, one way is definitely not to just do the default of let's just make him look like this. I feel like you understand which character designing I'm going with here when I say not like this, right? The other thing is I'm not going to use a symmetry tool on this. I'm purposely not using it because I don't want to. I want to be able to make the character myself the way I want to. So we're not going to do this because I feel like a lot of people, when they try and do bigger size characters, for some reason they always approach it at Dorito shape, right? The Dorito. And the thing is, I do have another character that already does this Dorito shape and is definitely a lot bigger and a lot taller. And if you don't remember that character, we actually were working on that character last week, which the video should be up soon, is Axe's character design. I kind of go over a little bit of character shape language and other things like that in there, but this is definitely a more in-depth how to do character. So I don't want to go with Dorito shape. That's not going to fit him. It might look nice and it might look appealing, but that's not what the character that I want to make is going to be. So we're going to turn that off because that's not what I want. Okay, then what do I want? Well, I do want him to have broader shoulders. That is true. But I kind of want to give him a much more rounder shape, right? So his arms are probably going to be out here-ish. But even still, he's going to have, I would say, more roundness to him. I'm going to actually decrease this a little bit more. I want him to have much more of a rounder body shape. So we might have a little bit of a thicker neck. And definitely a bigger, wider head. Oh my goodness! You understand? Yeah, turn the frogs get out. See, crap.
Welcome,
oh my
Raiders.
gosh.
I am George the Frog, the real streamer, and this is Art, my lovely co-host. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the chaos.
Oh my goodness. Hello everyone. I am Art Creates. I am the great I am your chaotic deity here to teach today. But hello Gris, thank you so much for the raid. Hold on a second. Let me just get the welcome to character design basics. Today we're teaching people how to do character designs. But thank you, Gris, so much for the raid. Hey, sorry, got a raid and bail. But I need to grab some sleep for. Oh, okay, yes, go. Go and take care of yourself. Thank you for trusting me with your community. I will make sure to not take care of them well. No, I'm joking. I'll take care of them. But yes, please go and take care of yourself. And thank you so much for the raid. Yes. For those that did come in, we are doing a character design basics. So if you want to learn about character design basics, that's what we're going over. We're currently working on figuring out how to design this current character. So we're currently going over that of this thing called shape language and trying to figure out different shapes so that then we can create their silhouettes. If you know these characters, good. It was not that easy. It was not that difficult to be able to create their shape language and then put their silhouettes. I literally just did their silhouettes and then we broke down their shape language. And now we're moving over to this character and kind of using shape language to identify kind of how we want this person to look. We're going to be using a 3D model to kind of also help us, but most of it we are kind of doing it ourselves. So we're kind of just breaking down his little anatomy here. There you go. But I do want him to be much more on the bigger and wider side. The more that I'm starting to look at this, the more I'm like, huh, is that queso? You know what? Screw it. He's now going to look like queso. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm more of trying to make him have just like a bigger build, but also look a little bit more of a rounder design. Because I have a lot of people that have bigger builds that are more squarish or angular. So I want to have something that's round. Oh my goodness. Yippee!
A devotee is checking in. To ensure check-in is complete, please give me your credit card.
Welcome in, Crystal. You're late to class. You're missing class. You know what? Anybody that comes in the middle, I'm just gonna say, you're missing class. No, don't look sad at me. You have to deal with this. So, I do want him to be a bit more of a rounder shape, as you can see. I'm speaking to the principal, actually. Okay, I'll excuse it for now. I'll excuse it for now. But as you can see, I do want him to have much more of a rounder shape, right? So, how are we gonna achieve... Here, let me just make a copy of this. How are we gonna achieve this in this... Oh my goodness, hold on a minute. So how are we gonna achieve this into this 3D design? Well, again, there is a way to do it, and unfortunately, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see this. So, I'm gonna pull up the other thing that we had from the other day. I think this is... Yes, it is. So, let me unlock this really quickly, because you're gonna see what this is. Excuse me. Oh. Excuse a second. There you go. This so you can see this pop up. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this character. So, character is quite tall, I would say. But I want him over here-ish. I want him to be more round, right? Now, the one thing I don't like, and I will show you this really quickly. The further you kind of put him over here, it kind of makes him inflate like a balloon. This isn't too off from what I want, so this is fine. Because I want him to have a little bit of a dad bod, okay? I don't think he's going to be as wide as what I intend to here with the sketch, but it's kind of the idea that I want to get across into his shape language. So let me just increase that a little bit more. Now the other thing is that I do want him to be a lot wider than he is. So we're gonna take all of these and make him wider. Now it does also mean we may need to make his neck wider, but we also need to make his head wider. Okay, I think you can kind of see where we're kind of going with some stuff. Now again, you know, certain things can only do so much. Oh my gosh, his legs. Yeah, we gotta really like beef up his legs here. And then gotta widen those feet. He's got some big feet. He's a big guy. Big guy needs some big feet. Know what they say about a guy with big feet? I'll stop. I'll stop. I have to keep like spinning and looking around to see if he is where I want him to be. Now, again, even though that we are using a 3D model to kind of get that shape language across, be at mind that I still have to go in and kind of change this up myself, because again, I will say this much. The shape language or any of the 3D models in here are not that great. And I have not seen a 3D model or 3D model maker that is really good at capturing that of bigger bodied people. Okay? So we are going to probably have to change a lot of this up ourselves when we are drawing. But for the most part, I think that that shape is pretty close to what I want. If I want to change it, I can change it later, but for the kind of character I want him to be, I think that this works. Another thing I kind of wanted to play around with was actually shortening his torso just a bit. Just a bit. To make him a little bit stubby. Now, this does change his height a little bit, but it doesn't change it a whole lot because he's still massively taller than some characters. Not all, because I think Luthador is taller than him if I bring Luthador in. But the most important thing of what I wanted to focus on was really changing up his design. And when I think about him a lot, I think of like this bigger kind of rounder, like ho kind of guy. I don't know. I think like I kind of also imagine in a way like dwarvish, like dwarf but taller, but not as like muscular dwarf, right? I'm thinking like little round like Gimli here, you know, if everyone remembers Lord of the Rings dwarves. I'm thinking like Gimli, like roundish, kind of little pop, has a little bit of pop belly kind of on the front, you know, kind of like that, but he's like still like tough and gruff and all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of like what I'm kind of imagining with this. So I would want the design to reflect that a little bit. Now, you know, you might notice like, hey, he's a little bit on the muscular side, right? If I wanted to change that and make him not as muscular, we can go down here. But I kind of want him to have a little bit of a muscular design. Like, even though that he is definitely roundish and has a little bit, he will have much more of a rounder, plumper belly than this. But the thing is, I do want him to still be a little bit more like muscle, right? So he'll still have that underneath that of the fat. So technically, this isn't completely right, because again, if you actually look at a person that is a little bit plus size or bigger, they usually don't have very much muscle definition, because, you know, there's a lot of layers of fat on top of that. So it's more the leaner that you are, the more that you will see, right? But in terms of kind of how I want him to be, I think that this is good. Now, we kind of have an idea of a new... Oh, here, let me just... I'm going to switch back to just the regular. So now we have an idea of his character. So I'm going to kind of break down a little bit of what he is. So first off, if we look at his character shape now. So we are going to see this. I know the arms here are weird. Technically, this should be like that. And he's going to have round. But most importantly, he has, if I were to break this down, he has definitely a nice square shape to him, which is what I want here. He's starting to get a much more square shape up here as well. That kind of goes into a rounder shape. And then again, very boxy legs, right? He's got a lot of boxes to him, and that's kind of how I want him to be. He's a rock guy. He's very solid. He's very sturdy, right? But when we go into his design a little bit more of how I'm going to actually break it down, I want him to be a little bit more rounder. So he's going to have this more rounded square shape to him, which definitely softens him up compared to having a solid square shape and making him like look like that. All right. This is much more harsh. This isn't. And that is character design in one of the most simplest ways. Shape language, make a shape. You can make even just a quick silhouette of a character if you want to. You know, just like make a quick silhouette of like, I want this shape, and make a circle. So it's like, let's say you want to make a character, right? And you're like, I kind of want to make, oh, I'm on eraser. It's like, I'm like, why isn't it filling in? I'm on eraser. I want them to be like that, and then like that. And there you go. Then you just gotta break down the shapes that you like in this, and then further it and enhance it more, and there you go. You got a character. So you can make really quick and simple, easy character designs just by taking down and breaking down shape language. So you have a circle for their head, or you could, if you wanted to, you can make them have a more squarish head, right? And then you could make them have maybe a rounder body. And then maybe they have just like a little square here. And then they have like their legs, right? And then they have like their arms here. So you can make very quick and simple-ish character designs if you wanted to. So like this person has like maybe this person has a more angular head, and they're kind of shifty, kind of. You can even like make their entire design like this, just triangle, and then just like like shifty. So you can get pretty quick character designs by just blocking it out in silhouette and then taking those silhouettes and then furthering them into characters. So there is different ways of how you can go about doing it. You can either go the shape route of you actually drawing out the shapes, or you can go the silhouette route of building the silhouettes with the shapes and then going in and breaking it down. So it depends on how you kind of want to do it. So you can build a silhouette and then break down the shapes. I will say though that silhouettes and shape language are only going to tell you what the character is supposed, like their build is supposed to look like. It's not really going to tell you much about what they're wearing unless you go in. I would say that shape language is better for when you're not thinking about clothes. Because when you start thinking about clothes, then it's going to start getting more complicated. Right? And that's what we're going to do here. So we have like kind of the new character shape of this character. Again, this is Goleth. So we have this new character shape. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my... I'm going to just like put this all in here and then bring this out of here. Please, there you go. And then we're going to take this shape. And let me actually really quickly turn something off. Cast shadows. I don't need that on. Because that's gonna... Sometimes cast shadows just like get in the way. So then we're gonna take this and we're gonna do that. Yeah, this doesn't really work for this character. I'm gonna just grab a simple... I'm gonna grab like a simple standing design for him. Let's do this one. I think this one would be better. It's hard to find like a simple... You know what? Maybe this. Yeah. We'll go with this for right now. This really doesn't show off most of his character. We're just doing this in order to get him to kind of think about other designs. There actually is... Oh, there's like one that I have that I think could work. This? No. It's... I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in like the vastness of this. I got a lot of poses. I've been building for like a long time. Oh, there we go. This is one I use for him a lot. Actually, whenever I draw him, I kind of like draw him in a similar pose like this. So, now to be fair, what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna actually move his... I'm gonna move this arm. Because I want him to have that arm up. But I kind of want him to have the other arm like back. I'm grabbing the wrong stuff. Like, he is so proud of himself. He's got a lot of muscle. He built. He's solid, you know. There's a reason that he has a wife and kids. Yes, this character does have a wife and kids. I will be going over that when we start getting into the nitty-gritty of his character design a little bit more. Yeah. Now you guys can understand how long it takes us to, like, get a character into, like, a pose. Because sometimes it be super obnoxious and doesn't want to work right. What I'm trying to do is put his damn hand on his hip. And it doesn't want to go there. I don't know, they changed something with like 3D stuff, and now shit doesn't work. There we go. I hate that in order to do some... Again, some stuff with the 3D is sometimes difficult. That's like a 3D issue more. There we go. I think that's gonna show off his character a little bit more. He's a big guy. Actually, now that he's in a pose, I will say the design that I had for him, this is gonna work. So now we're gonna kind of break down a little bit more of his shape language and what he's gonna look like in the end, right? Because that's what's important. So the first thing that we're gonna do is kind of go over his overall shape. Ooh, there we go. So one thing with 3D, because this is gonna be something. So when you have collarbone here, it's gonna do that. This is gonna overlap here. That's something that you're not gonna see with much stuff. The other thing is that your neck, even though that it's gonna go straight down, so this is actually his neck, this is a back part of his neck. I'll go over this when doing like anatomy and stuff, but this is the back portion of his neck, which is the trapezius. So when you have your neck, you have this here, your trapezius. If you literally touch the back of your neck right now and go down into your neck, and you will feel like this triangle in the back, but your neck is actually straight. It's up and down. That is your trapezius in the back. So the more muscular you are, or the more weight that you have here, this trapezius is going to get bigger. Okay? So that's why with this is actually correct. That's your trapezius. And then here is your collarbone. So your collar. So you want to make sure that this all lines up. Now, I'm going a little bit off of this because I don't, even though that I do want him to have some definition of his muscle, that isn't the main point of him. So he's going to have some rounderness to him. And again here. Now, I do this here because technically the armpit, so you want, on a 3D model, it just kind of makes it a cylinder here, but it always is connected to the armpit. So whenever I have something here, I usually just kind of make it come out like that. Now he is flexing here, so what I'm gonna do is actually show off that he is muscular, right? It's if anyone has ever seen the TikTok, there's this like one guy that literally says like flabby, and then he flexes and then you see all of his muscles. Basically the same thing here. He might be a big wide dude, and I'm more of basing his body. So the reason I'm basing his body like this is because I'm basing it off of bodybuilders. And if you've ever seen a bodybuilder, an actual, or not a bodybuilder, a weightlifter. If you've ever seen a weightlifter, you'll notice that a lot of weightlifters have a lot of fat in the middle area of their body. The reason to this being is because you can't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and pick up something.
A falafel robot get close
Whoa.
to the right bottom of art and a hologram of communication opens a Chanel. Well, art, if you see this, I am trapped in a explosion. I have a broken leg with visible bow and I am impaled in a rock and under 20 tons of rock. A devotee is checking in. To ensure check-in is complete, please give me your credit card.
For some reason, my frames dropped drastically. Holy snapperoonies. Honestly, I've never had to deal with frame dropping until now. I don't know what is happening. But hello, Tito. Welcome in. We're doing some character,
I am Tito the gnome, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, Tito, I would say, don't use George a lot today, because we're kind of going over art lessons. So, yeah. I wanted to be more focused on lessons today, but you can use him when we're like next stream as much as you want. I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying that you should, you know, not. It's just like lesson story stuff today. Also, apparently ads are going to play soon, which is good because I'm like halfway through my water and I need to go get more.
Okay, don't use George because art is becoming cold-hearted like my bank account.
No, you can use George next time. You can use George next time. We're just doing actual character design lessons stuff today. So it's like I want to be focused more on the lessons. Because though I do enjoy your wonderful commentary. But anyways, so Axe, or not Axe. Yes, class is in session. So I'm building him more, I'm building Golith more based off of bodybuilders because you don't want an Arnold Schwarzenegger body when you're doing weightlifting because you will actually possibly tear your abdomen and like perforate your abdomen where it kind of like opens up and kind of like your innards kind of push out in between the muscles of your abdomen. That's not really... Excuse me, not while I'm explaining things! Give me...
All right.
And while I was explaining it, they took my hair away. While I'm trying to explain why I'm trying to describe the terrible thing of weightlifting and why you don't want to look like a bodybuilder. You want to be a weightlifter. So I'm basing him more off of weightlifters, which yes, a lot of weightlifters do have kind of muscular arms, but they have a lot of fat and stuff in their abdomen because that is to protect themselves. It is to protect their insides and everything. So it is a protective barrier. Literally go and look up bodybuilders and weightlifters and you will see that weightlifters, and you would say like, oh, weightlifters look so unhealthy. No, they are very, very healthy. So I'm basing most of his stuff off of weightlifters. So, when you're going to look at him, he's not going to, it looks like he doesn't have much muscle, and then he flexes, and then it's like, muscle man. Except for around his belly. But, that's going to be kind of rounder or softer. Again, I'm also going for dad bod here. But bodybuilders are more of stamina. I know I very good bodybuilder like Victor Frankenstein. Oh my gosh. Yes. Bodybuilders aren't really stamina, I would say. Weightlifters, I would say, are more stamina because they have to pick up the weights and hold it up for a certain amount of time, and then they have to put it down. I'm actually also going out of my way to make his hands much more square-ish as well. Oh my gosh. Conan the Barbarian, great grandson of Kor the Conqueror, Lasky. Oh my gosh, did I just get a Conan Barbarian reference? Freaking love Conan the Barbarian. I love OG Conan the Barbarian. Oh, also ads are gonna start, so I am going to actually take a break right now. So if you need to take a break and get some water, get up, do a little bit of stretchy stretch, maybe even do some wrist stretching from doing characters or art or whatever you're doing, make sure to do some wrist stretches, make sure to do some back stretches, and get up and walk around a little bit, because that's what I'm gonna do. And when we come back, I will continue on with kind of doing the character design and explaining a little bit of why I'm creating different stuff and why I'm doing certain things, so that then everyone can kind of understand. Most of the lesson that I was going to teach and the breaking down of stuff is already basically done.
Remember, boys, lore of Conan is vast because the character is 1 year more old than Superman and his raw physical power is around 2 tons.
Well, now I learned something new about Conan. Alright, I'll be taking that break then. Oh, I changed back to the wrong scene. Hold on a second. Hi. Oh my goodness. Hi, ghosted Viper. Oh, hi, puppy. Wanna up? Also, we've had a lot of frame dropping today. What the heck? I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know what I'm running anymore to make my frames drop. How are you? I am good. We're going over some character design basic stuff. We're now in the applying phase. So we kind of went over everything of the basics, and then we're kind of now in the applying phase of applying that to a character. There we go. Ba 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 ba. Try to remember the roundness. Hold on. I'm like anatomy. Gotta remember anatomy. Cause yeah. So this goes here. That goes there. That comes down here. Yeah. There we go. Kind of making... I'm trying to round out a lot of his more harsher things. Or like how he's gonna look to be a little bit more harsh. There we go. Because I don't want him to be very broad, or... Well, he's supposed to be broad, but I don't want him to be completely angular in design. So that means like sharp points, pointed designs and all of that sort of stuff. We're not going for that. Gonna just... I can't draw too much there. I'm gonna round out here a little bit. Because, you know, you can use what's here on the 3D models if you want to go with that. But most of the time, you're probably going to have to break away, like I'm breaking away here from this. To make him have a little bit more of a belly compared to not. Also still debating with this character if I want him to be barefoot or not, but we'll get to that when we start talking about world building and other character design things. So. You know what I wonder? I'm gonna turn something off. What is this character for? This character is for my comic that I'm currently working on. So I've been redesigning a lot of the characters, and this is one of the characters that is getting a redesign, but also a character that I haven't really had a solid design for at all. I'm gonna turn off stream avatars and see if that improves, like, cause my bitrate for streaming has been like at 2,000 and it goes up to 6,000. I don't know why it's been going down more recently. So I'm turning that off to see if it helps. Oh, well, I don't need this on either. Oh. I need to figure out a way to exit out of some of this stuff. I'm like trying to see if exiting out of everything is gonna help make it better. But I don't know. It seems like nothing has helped. Oh, now it's going back up. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know. I've been dealing with this recently. It could be that maybe I should just update my OBS because there's been a few updates. Maybe I should just update it. Maybe I should just suck it up and update it. Now it's back to 6,000. What the heck? I don't know why. It's been doing a lot of frame dropping today. But I exited out of stream avatars, so we're not gonna have the little guys up today. Just in case. Because, I mean, that connects to the internet, that takes Wi-Fi and all that sort of stuff, so. But yeah. But yeah, this character is for my comic that I'm kind of working on redoing. I do have some chapters out, but I kind of like made it. I would argue I made it really quickly, and I just didn't like think a little too much about it. So I kind of made it really quickly. So I'm going back through, rewriting the script. Making a script. I didn't have a script. Writing a script and remaking like all the characters and stuff. But I thought that I would take also this opportunity to talk about character design and like the character design basics and how to apply that to your characters, and can also help or further your character designs and maybe help you with understanding how character design works, and what professionals do to make character designs. And also we kind of talked about silhouette and shape languages and all that sort of stuff. That's earlier on, so if you want to rewatch the video back, there's all of that. I have like a whole hour, or at least hour 30 minutes of just talking about what it is. And then we're kind of just taking that and applying it to a character. So we're going for a big round guy that is kind of like a bodybuilder, or based around not bodybuilders, around like weightlifters. So he's got a very roundish design and all that good jazz. He's just a big happy guy. Trying to remember something. Yeah, I think his eyes need to be moved further down. Because I think it's like the more narrower, what was it? Like the more narrower the eyes, like the older that he looks, or like the further, I forget, it was like further down his eyes and like more narrower. I forget. There you go. Because he's technically the oldest of the group. He's got family and kids. He's got kids. There you go. I also have thought multiple times about making him bald for some reason, and I was like, it never worked. There you go. Gonna turn this down. So, as you can see, we have some of the shape language. The other way of how you can break this down even further, if you wanted to. Got a lot of roundness up here. What the heck? What was that? Something shook. There you go. Fantastic. You know what I'm wondering is maybe it's just too hot in here and it was dropping frames because of that. Because I immediately have my stand fan in here now and blowing some nice cool air in to cool the area down. Now it's like, oh, now it's fine. Maybe that's why. It was getting too hot. Honestly, I have thought about relocating my office to a different room, but the thing is, like, that room's a guest room, and sometimes we have guests over, and I'm like, moving everything that I have over there is gonna be too much. Alright. So, we kind of have a more... I'm gonna actually turn off that 3D. So we kind of have much more of a design here. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually maybe move his belly down a little bit more. Make it a... There we go. That'll help. Oop, not too far. There we go. So I kind of have a base idea for him. And again, very big guy. And I kind of like that his torso is like a little bit shorter and stouter. I don't know. I think that like kind of helps a little bit with the shape. And if I wanted to, I could lessen his legs too, but then I don't want to make him short, right? I don't want to make him this like big dude with like little short legs, because the thing is, like, the problem is that his character design might not end up working with everybody else, because everyone has like a lot more humanoidish designs, and then it's like he looks like a completely different monster, like completely different character, completely like I took him out of another place and put him in here. Like, we want it to be different. We don't want him to be too different, or else I think it can break some stuff. If there's other characters that like, I like to use Legend of Zelda a lot because The Legend of Zelda is very good about this. So even though that, because I'm kind of like basing him a little bit off of the Goron as well. Now the Goron in there, you know, you have the Goron, but then you also have like, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting their names? You have the Goron, but then you also have the, why am I just thinking the fish people? The Zora. There we go. The Zora. You have the Zora. And then you also have like the bird people, right? And they all like have their own character design and character shapes to them and all that sort of stuff. So the Goron don't look out of place. Whereas if all of them had like humanoidish designs and like were more human looking, and then you have the Goron in there, they kind of look a little weird. So you want other characters to already be breaking that mold, or else there might be a problem with how it will look towards other characters. Because then it's like it fits in the world more. You can believe it a lot more. But if there's like a completely different character design and then these other characters, it just doesn't fit right. So I didn't want to make him too different, or else we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands. That's not what I wanted. Alright. So now we kind of have this base. Now, the thing is like, as much as his base really does kind of help to identify, okay, this guy's a big kind of dude. He's got a lot of roundness to him, so he's kind of a little bit friendly. He's got a nice big smile too. Alright. Now, the next thing that you're going to have to ask is, well, oh, hold on a second. I need to turn down my ceiling fan, because it's rattling. I keep hearing, I'm like, what's that sound? What is it? And then I look up and my fan is rattling. There we go. Alright. All back to normal. Alright, so we gotta think about design, like, outfits here. So, I do have an idea of what their outfits are, because I already took that into account. I already know what they're gonna look like. But I'm gonna show you kind of how their character designs and clothes also do help to kind of tell us a little bit about maybe where they are, how they live, where they live, all that sort of stuff. So these people live in the mountains, or literally inside the mountains. They live in mountain ranges. They also live near very like hot stuff. So they don't really have to technically wear a lot of clothes. How I have kind of had their character design, at least when it comes to their clothing in the past, is it was kind of something like this. This has to be kind of like further up. Hold on. Maybe I shouldn't have made him shorter. Because I'm starting to realize that making him as I wanted to with a little bit of a shorter torso is actually screwing with me a little bit. Oh, apparently I had made him a longer torso. Interesting. Never mind. I thought I made him shorter. Oh, I'm on the wrong. I'm like... I'm just gonna do that, and then he kind of has some pants here. Yeah, right about here-ish. And then something like akin to that. And that's all he wore. That's all he was wearing. And honestly, I still actually kind of like this. I think that this fits him much better because I used to have him be a more thinner character. And now that he's a little bit wider, like, the design works a little bit more. But also I feel like he just needs... Sometimes some characters, less is more, okay? Because one thing I do want to do with him is I want him to have kind of some tattoos on him. And the tattoos do have meaning. The tattoos are not just there for a character to have something cool. When I usually put something like a tattoo on a character, and even people usually get tattoos and they usually have it mean something. It usually can be sentimental. It usually can be about a person. Maybe it's a milestone in their life. Now, some people just want to get a tattoo to just kind of get a tattoo. There are people that are like that, or maybe they want a piece of art on them, right? So there's different reasons to why people could want a tattoo. And I would say for him and his character, because I'm also going to tie it in with their culture, that they symbolically engrave their body with that of metal. So the tattoos are metal because they can embed metal into their bodies. This is something that is unique to them. They can also embed gems into their bodies as well, so sometimes they bedazzle themselves. So I have some characters that might have some bedazzling. But it's more a part of their culture to do it. So it's kind of like important to them in the sense of that most tattoos are talking about like familial lines and like who you are. So you can tell who's who and what their rank is and where they're from based on their tattoos. This definitely is pulling a lot from a lot of different indigenous cultures that do this. They do it for a variety of reasons, and they could also, it could also mean more than just that. Some people do it for familial lines, depending on that of the culture and the people. Some of them do it for certain ritual reasons. So there's a lot of different reasons to why people in a lot of different indigenous regions, or a lot of different indigenous cultures will do it. It's not really a new thing. It's pretty common across a lot of cultures. So for this one in particular, that's kind of how it is. I don't actually have many other cultures, I think, in the world building I've made that do that. I think it's just because I do other things as well that is more unique to that particular group of people. So yeah. Not that tattoos don't exist. I mean, it's just, but again, like these tattoos would probably kill any other race because they literally embed metal. They're metal by embedding metal into themselves. And the only reason that they can do this is because they say that their skin is literally made of rock. But he's much more of a smoother rock than a harsh rock. So I'm gonna kind of do it like this. And actually I might make this a stone of some sort. So he's got a tattoo there. I don't want to put anything else around it. There's a reason that his tattoo is here. This is his family. So this is him, his wife, and his 2 kids. So each of the rings is people in his family. And of course, you know, as you add on more family members or you have more kids, then you probably would add more rings. So he put it here because he didn't know if he was going to have a lot. But if he does, the rings would probably go up to here, you know. And they would just be as continuous as possible. I'm just trying to like think of where else I would put tattoos. Right now, that's the only one I can think of, because that one is probably the most important one. Based on his familial lines. So again, this is a thing of character design. Like, you know, are there other little important things that you want to add to the character design? For example, art, my character, some of my character model things that I always have now is I now have braided hair all the time. So my hair is always braided. I always have my necklace that I wear. And if you can kind of see, there's an upside down heart shape on the necklace. That is also a part of my character design as well. So there are going to be certain things that are very important to certain character designs for certain reasons. The braided hair is just something for me. It makes me identifiable, I feel like. And then also the necklace is another thing of identification as well. So having that sort of thing and having little itty bitty things that a person can go like, oh, I know why this is important to that character because blah, 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 right? And the other thing is that when you're writing, and especially like with comics, you do want to have a little bit of thought behind every single character design. Like, why is the character wearing this? Why is the character doing this? Why does the character have that? Because you can actually use it to bring up dialogue. You can use it as like a dialogue jumping off point. It's like, you know, oh, why do you have those tattoos? Oh, they represent my family. Like this represents this person. This represents that person. Blah, 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 blah. And so it can open up a character thing, and it can also open up dialogue, you know? And I feel like a lot of tattoos do open up dialogues, don't they? So. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking of for, like, his design. Now, again, we could go over this, like, multiple times. There's, like, one character that I have, like, so many character designs with that I've played around with. But we're just kind of showing this character design as, like, a quick, simple, easy. Because, like, this character is pretty simple from what I want them to be. They're not anything more than what they are. Now, one thing that I am going to play around with a lot more on his character design is the idea of, I'm going to like change this to like a different color, what to do with his hair. Because I've thought about it a lot of what I kind of want his hair to be. And let me just like put in his hairline really quickly. Another thing with characters that I feel like a lot of people don't do is they forget hairlines. You know, they just kind of start making the character's hair. And I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but where's the hairline? Give me hairline. So for him, I kind of want his hairline to kind of be like that. There we go. Kind of go up a little bit, and then kind of come out and down. Oh yeah, it's hard to figure out character. Okay. Sometimes it's just easier to do default that, and then if I want to add anything, then I can do it. There you go. So I would say look at like different people's hairlines. There's a variety of different hairlines. There's pretty much the basic one. That's kind of like the oval, the normal oval one. Then of course, you have, widow's peak. You have like these kinds of hairlines. There's a lot of different hairlines. If you go further in depth with it, there's a lot of hairlines out there in the world. But I want to just give a simple hairline to this guy. I don't want to give him a hairstyle that I feel like is going to be too much, because the more complicated that well, it's not the more complicated that you make, but it's different hairstyles can change a lot with certain characters. So, I want this character to look older, so he can't have like a cool ass hair design. He can still have a cool hair design, but you gotta also think appropriate age kind of stuff. So I'm gonna make this darker. One thing I thought about was kind of having him have a shaven underneath, right? But then he kind of has like crystals embedded in here, right? And then I was gonna give him like a kind of comb over like hair look, but as you can kind of see, that kind of makes him look a lot younger than what he is, right? Because this hairstyle you would kind of view with somebody that's younger, right? So that's why I kind of don't want to do that sort of hairstyle, because I think it makes him look too young, which is not what I'm really after, right? Then another idea I had is, okay, do that, and then pull the rest of his hair back, right? Or kind of like slick his hair back, right? Makes him look older, right? But then I'm like, okay, what do I do with the rest of his hair? I don't know. I'm like trying to make it look like it's a curly mess in the back. So it kind of has the shaven on the sides that kind of has a little bit of some stuff in here. And then, you know what? I'm going to make him have some curliness here. That's like kind of popping out. It does make him look older, but it also does make him look a little bit like... Why does he now look like the same hairstyle my boyfriend has? I'm not saying that he does look like him, but he's starting to get there. But that way, so he can have kind of the embeddedness on the side, with having that kind of undercut, like shaven kind of thing. Now, I will say a lot of people, I feel like when a lot of people think about like rock characters or like people that are supposed to represent rock, for some reason, they just make them bald. I'm like, why? Why can't they have hair? Why can't we rock with hair, man? You know? Someone actually thought to me, they're like, they suggested, you want to know what they suggested? They're like, hey, so they're supposed to be rock people. Why not make their hair diamonds? Man bun? Yeah, you know what the funny thing is? He's the second character that I have a man bun for. But the other person that has a man bun, they're more, I would say that they're more, like, their hair is straighter. This one's more curlier, alright? But also you can definitely tell that they're two different characters. Because this is who we were working on last week. We were playing around more with character design, but we were going over color concepts as well. Actually, this one doesn't have a man bun. He has like a little hair thingy in the back. So yeah. So we can have him have like a really a man bun. I think that fits with him. I think it fits. I've been putting his hair down like short and stuff, and I feel like him just having like kind of a messy bun kind of makes sense, you know? I don't know. He gives, you know what? He does really now give me dad vibes. He gives me really big dad vibes. I mean, I do make him the dad of the group, so I'm glad that I'm starting to finally get that across. And to be fair, this character I've had like this is the second character I've really had a hard time with in order to figure out what I wanted them to be. So yeah. Was that Phineas? Yes, because we were talking about shape language. We were talking about shape language, and so I quickly drew a silhouette of Phineas and Ferb, and I'm so glad that you were able to identify that it was Phineas and Ferb. Because I was talking about shape language and how it's like you can make them very simple, and how that shape language can affect the silhouette, because then you can definitely tell who's who based on their shape language and their silhouettes. So you don't have to like think too hard about what they look like. And I've never drawn Phineas and Ferb. I've never drawn them before. The only one I have drawn is Perry the Platypus. I've drawn Perry the Platypus before, but I haven't drawn Phineas and Ferb before. So the fact that I could draw them so easily with just their shape language, yeah. Perry stood out. Yeah, Perry did stand out so much. I haven't watched Phineas and Ferb, but I know that there's new seasons out. I'm like, I know what I'm watching after I'm done watching Magic Knight Rare Earth. Yes, that is an old anime. It's a very old anime. But yeah. We're using this to break down some stuff, so that's why I had them up here. But honestly, I think that this is a much more solid design than... Let me see if I can find I think it was in here. Yeah. So this was a design that I did have for him, which I do still kind of like, but I don't think it doesn't give the dad bod. This gives more like it doesn't give what I want it to be, which is like a ha ha kind of dad vibe. It gives more, yeah, I'm tough, and I don't know. I think of like, who's the guy that played The Witcher? I feel like he would voice this. Whereas this guy, I feel like, I don't know, he's giving me like cool Jason Momoa vibes. Or like Fluffy, I don't know. Like a much more different kind of vibe. Which I feel like is better, because I feel like a lot of people really have a lot more angular designs to them, and then you just have this guy being a big fluffy teddy bear that can punch the ground and create earthquakes that cause chasms to open up and people fall in. Fun times. But yeah, so this is what one of his original designs was gonna be. And actually, let me turn this like down a little bit more. But this is what one of his original designs was gonna be. And I just didn't end up really liking it. I think that he just didn't have that fluffiness that I kind of wanted to him. And oh, I keep clicking on period platypus. And now, like, redesigning him, he does look 100% different. Like, it seems like they are two different characters. But this gives me much more of the vibes that I want. Now, one thing that I do want to do, because he is a little clean shaven, I might still put in, like, a little bit of a scruffy beard of sorts. There we go. That makes him look a little bit older. Make it like a little curly too. Makes him look a little bit older. Makes him look like, you know, he has some time. He's seen things. Well, he better have seen things, because he's like in the middle of wars and stuff, you know. I forgot also that I like made him have like these scar things over his eye. I made him have oh yeah, I made him have like a lot of chest hair for some reason. I mean, I still could put that on him, but I don't know. Here, do we want to put, you know what we could do? We'll do that. Put some hair there. And then kind of give him some... I don't really want him to have too much hair. The reason being is because he's supposed to be a rock person, and it's like, rock people don't have much hair, but they do have hair. Technically, they do have hair. Their hair is just more coarse, and I think that makes sense for why they would be curlier as well. But yeah. Honestly, I'm a lot more happier with this design than I have been in like a while with him, because I feel like he just never was right. You know, there's a lot of times when you're making a character, you have to make a few bad character designs to get to the one that you feel more comfortable with. You don't have to make a character design perfect. You have to do trial and error. And even with Axe here, like, I did a lot of trial and error with him to get to where he now is. And I feel like he has a much more solider and cohesive design. Because, one, you can tell that this guy is definitely a person that gets around. He also has some armor on him, so he's definitely a traveler, but he's definitely armed. And you can... But his weird corruption thing on his face and his arms makes him look like something's happening. So it feels like a much more cohesive design going on, and that there's something more to his character. That, of course, we're going to look at a lot more. I just haven't done much with his color scheme explorations, but his color schemes I limited towards orange and blues, because I wanted him to have more of an orange and blue design. So his main colors are mostly orange and blue, with, of course, silver and black as well. But he doesn't really have much black. It's more like a darkish blue. Also, one thing about character designs, never use black. Or never use pure black. Use something close to it. So like a really, really, really dark blue, almost black, or really, really dark red, almost black. If you want it to be more on the red side, You know, if you want it to be warmer, use a warmer side, so I would use more of like the red. If I wanted to be on the cooler side, I would use more of the blues or purples. I would go in there. If you wanted it to like be in the middle, I use purple because it's like combination of red and blue. So that's one thing I will tell you about character designs. Don't ever use black. At least absolute black. Also, another thing, never use absolute white. Because I don't think a lot of people talk about that. It's not that you can't use white, it's just that it's very hard to highlight and shade white. Because the only way to do it is by subtraction. So that would mean lots of shading. So you'd have to really, really shade. Again, I'm not saying that you can't do white. It's just like, it might help you to just not use pure white. I only use pure white in certain situations. But most of my white that you see around me it's slightly off-white. I'm gonna save that and put that away. I'm gonna move this Phineas and Ferb character stuff over here. Alright. So we kind of have a character design that I think is I'm a little bit more comfortable with. Again, I might still explore him a little bit more. I feel like this is a little too basic compared to his other friends that he's gonna have that he's traveling with. So I might zhuzh it up a little bit more. But for the most part, I think he's done. And again, using all the different stuff of character shape language and all that sort of stuff, we rounded out most of the squareness that I wanted him to have. So now he has a squarish design that makes him look a little bit more solid, but it also makes him, because of the roundness, it makes him a little bit more approachable. It makes him look like you can like walk up to him and talk to him about stuff, and he definitely feels like a cozier, like bear style kind of guy, you know. So yeah, I'm going to be actually just saving this for the time being. I might actually use this picture as like a thing of like how-to character design, and then it's just like picture Phineas and Ferb and everyone. This is gonna be good. So yeah. Now the thing is that a lot of people might be wondering. I'm pulling this up for a reason. A lot of people might be wondering, like, okay, how do people from like different areas like accomplish like character design? Because the thing is that shape language is really good for really stylized characters, but you can still apply shape language to characters through clothing in order to get the full effect of what you want them to be. So sometimes, even though that you might be dealing in a more, I would say I have a more semi-realistic style. It's kind of like anime, but it's also a little bit more character, right? Or it's also a little bit more like regular animation. So it's kind of like a mixture between semi-realism and anime, right? But even with that, I'm still able to achieve what I need to achieve of being able to do shape language, because you can put it into the clothes. You can put triangles and squares into the clothing to give a certain effect. So if you put more triangles into a design, that's going to make them look a little bit more shiftier. But if you put more squares, it's going to be like, okay, so they're a little bit more like rough, tough, solid. They're kind of going to be hard to move, that sort of situation, right? So even if you can't get it into the shape language of the character itself, like into the silhouette, you can apply it to the silhouette through that of whatever clothing you put on the character. So even with clothes, you can still use shape language. And I think that a lot of people forget about that. You can do it with the clothes, because the clothes is part of the character as well. It tells me something about the character. So that's all that I can probably cover with character design. If we do another art lessons, like art teaches art, I will, like how we do it as art teaches art, I will do another one of this kind of style. and we might go over anatomy. Now, there might be another time that we'll go over environments and all of that. Now, again, this is kind of to be a little bit like a Bob Ross kind of thing, where I kind of like, but I more of talk about it more in depth, and then I take it and we then talk about, and then take it and then we actually apply that kind of idea to something, right? So that's what we're probably gonna do. I don't know when I'll do another one of these again. I just kind of wanted to do it just randomly today because I thought it would be fun to kind of do it and discuss it and just kind of have fun. And again, if you ever want to try an exercise of trying to understand shape language and trying to understand how characters are built for yourself, again, you can just make a silhouette and then, okay, how are these shapes broken down? Or, again, you could just take the character itself and then go in and break down the shapes yourself. So you can take a picture of Phineas and Ferb and Perry the platypus and break those shapes down like over top, like tracing over it, but you're not really tracing over it exactly. You're tracing the shapes that are in that design. And then once you know that, then draw the character yourself, and then you can understand kind of how the shape language is and like how they built the character from the ground up with simple shapes. Then apply that to your own character by building your character up with simpler shapes. Like I did a lot of round circles and squares to build up our character, and then I used a 3D model to kind of change the character into that. But then I still had to go in and apply what I was doing. Because again, you still need to know anatomy and stuff like that. The 3D models can only get you so far, okay? I still need to know how to do things. I still need to know how to put characters, like clothes on a character. I still need to know how tattoos work and the area of how this would go around. Like you still need to know and understand that sort of stuff. So yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah. This is like art piece I'm kind of working on, and I work on it like after we're done here. But I just like quickly want to talk about like shape language with. I'm gonna snooze this. I'm gonna snooze the ads. I'm gonna quickly talk about this because I think I've been talking like so much for the past like 2.5 hours that I think I might just end it off here. Because I believe that we accomplished what we needed to accomplish. So a quick thing about character design. So even though I'm gonna just like quickly do this. Even though that this is very, very complex, I will break it down really, really quickly. So she has a very triangular design to her. So it's a lot of triangles, or I like to think of them as, you know, I'm gonna do like a brighter red so you can kind of see this. So she kind of has a square here. So she has kind of a triangle, square, a triangle, and then, you know, more triangles. So these are all triangle, kind of triangles, but like squarish because they do end in a roundish. It's very square here for her shoulders. So she has a very square, angular design. This is what I like to call angular. Angular just means that it has a lot of angles to it. Angular also can also be a very triangular design. And then she kind of has... So this is just going over. By the way, you can do this on any character if you want to like kind of understand a pose. This is a very easy way to understand a pose. But she has a lot of, I would say, definitely more square and triangular designs. So she has, this is what I would call a very angular design, right? And, you know, I'm just breaking down her stuff. And if I turn this off, you can still kind of tell that that's the character, right? And then she has her hands out here. You can put the hands however you want, right? But you can kind of still tell that's the character. And that's how you kind of break down a character. And you can do this to be able to study different characters, study different character designs, and basically just see how they build up characters in simple shapes. And again, even with a normal body, you can simply do this. It's really not that difficult to do. Smash. But yeah. So I just like, that was just like a little showing of like how you can break down characters in a variety of different ways. You could also just like silhouette her and then do that. If you're like too focused on all the little itty bitty stuff, I would just say like take her and then draw over her and make a silhouette of her and then block in the stuff if it's a little too much, because she has a lot of stuff on her. So you can do this, right? That's kind of how you break down a character design. So, but yeah, I'm trying to finish this artwork before Thursday. I hope I can post it out tomorrow or on Thursday. I'm working hard to try and finish it. But let me just do a quick wrap up of our little discussions and talks. So we're going to turn off Phineas and Ferb here. I know, sad. So we talked about shape language. So shape language is circles, triangles, squares. You can bind them, change them around, turn them, rotate them, put them in different areas and different positions, and you can get really, really unique character designs by taking these different shapes and building on top of them. So that you can even also make very interesting silhouette or character designs based off of just taking simple squares, shapes, squares, triangles, and circles in order to make a unique character design. And that even in the professional world, they do use this technique of using squares, circles, and triangles to get unique character designs for television shows, movies, like films, animation, all that sort of stuff. And then we also kind of went over a little bit of anatomy and how kind of anatomy, it's like, where is is the character human? Are they a monster? Are they a creature? Like, you can still apply the circle, squares, and triangles to that design. As you can see with Perry the Platypus, even though that they're not human, you can still break them down into simple shapes so that then you can be able to understand what that shape of that character is, even though that it is an animal. And then we also went over a little bit of like world building. So if you are dealing with something that's from the real world, it's very simple to get references and everything to understand what the clothing will be. What does the person's body shape actually look like? What kind of colors do the particular group wear? So you can kind of get a color scheme of like what they kind of wear. And then, of course, when are they from? So that's going to tell you more about the clothes and maybe even more about, like, different anatomy, because maybe these people have evolved a little bit. Maybe their noses aren't as big or maybe as round as they used to be, right? And of course also color scheme, because like what were the fashion trends of those times? Now if you're dealing with a fantasy world, like, you know, based on what your fantasy world is, okay, how does that affect the character? Is it going to change their anatomy up? Is it going to change what they wear? Is it going to change how they are? I evolved by having bigger cheeks. Yes. So I do hope that this can kind of help you to further think about different kinds of character designs and how you can go about character designs, and even how taking that and applying it to a character, you know, we had to build this character up, make them more round, but they also have some squareness to them. Even though that they are definitely more of a realistic humanoid design, you can still apply it to realistic humanoid design characters. And I even put in circular tattoos to really emphasize the roundness and the circles and the happiness that this guy is. He's very friendly. So we want to give him more of a friendlier design. Even though that he's a big guy, he's still going to be very nice, very kind and approachable, right? And I think that's what, you know, we kind of wanted to go here, and we kind of did. And again, I'm going to be exploring this character a little bit more, of course, as well. And then, you know, compare it to another character that we've made that has very much more of an angular design. So he has like more triangles, he's got more round, he does have some roundness to him, but he's got a lot more triangles and squares in his design. He's very much more angular and pointed. So, and even with these two characters, if I put them next to each other and in a silhouette, still these characters are different enough to where you can be able to tell, yeah, this is this character and that is that character. So even the body and the clothing will definitely differentiate who the character is. Because at the end of the day, you want their silhouettes to be different, because a silhouette will be able to help you identify which character is which character. And then, of course, going into color scheming and everything else. And color schemes can also help differentiate characters, because it's like, oh, this character is much more orange, but this other character that it also kind of looks like, it's like, well, this character wears a lot blue. So it's like, you know, you have some differentiation between that of different colors, and those colors can mean different things, and how you apply colors and all that. Now, there is a whole entire thing of color language and all that sort of stuff. That is a whole can of worms, and I will tell you this much. Pick whatever you feel is good for your character and just focus on that. Because once you start getting into color language and all that sort of stuff, it gets weird. It's no. Unless it's super important. So, but yeah, that is all that we went over today. So thank you for coming to this lesson, this character lesson. Yes, puppy, we are gonna go. My dog knows that I'm starting to end stream, so she's like all over me, because she's like, I know how your speaking voice is when you're gonna go. I know that today was a little bit shorter, so you know, it's definitely a shorter stream than my usual like 3 to 4 hours. Well, we almost got to 3 hours, but I do want to thank you guys for joining this. Sorry about the frames dropping and all that. I think it was just because it's very hot in here, because I noticed that once it starts getting really hot, the frames start dropping. That makes sense. But I do want to thank you for coming to this. This is kind of like the first little experiment of this. So again, if you do want to have any questions answered, or like you have questions, I will be putting this up on the VODs channel. So if you want to go and follow the VODs channel, it'll be up on there. I'm going to probably try and take this and maybe try and edit it down to put it as a smaller video, and maybe add a little bit more stuff for a main channel video as well. Again, when I have the time to be able to go in and edit and do that sort of stuff, because I'm working on a few other things as well. Because my birthday is coming around, and I'm planning some stuff. Okay. Okay, puppy. I know! She's really energetic. But I do hope that you enjoyed this and that you learned some stuff. And if you didn't, I'm sorry. Again, you know, this is just something that I kind of just like thought of to do just today, and I just wanted to kind of do it and hope that it can kind of help you guys to further your ideas of what you can do with character designs and how you can go about with shape language and silhouettes and all of that. Now, one thing I didn't really talk about with silhouettes is, you know, well, no, I did talk about it. I said that silhouettes are basically identification. So, you know, it's like, how do I identify you? And again, you can still apply this for VTuber models. You can apply this for 3D models. You can apply it for anything. It's literally universal. Character design is very universal. And at the end of the day, VTuber models are character designs. So I hope that this can help you further your idea of like what you can do and what you want to do with your character designs or VTuber designs. So yeah. Let me just switch on over to the just chatting. But yeah, I think that I had a lot of fun talking about this. It got the itch out of me doing it. I will say you might get some mini art lessons like here and there throughout most of my other stuff when I do it. So yes, puppy, we're gonna go. Yeah. Can I end this stream first? She is like under my desk, hopping up onto my chair. Okay, Leia, can I end stream first, please? I don't know if she'll let me. Can I raid? Can I raid Leia? What the heck? Oh, great. I don't like that. When did they add that? Apparently Twitch now has a suggested collabs. No, I don't want to do that. That's so weird. I'm like trying to see. Huh. Oh, they're just starting too. No, not the ads. Okay, after the ads we'll raid. The good thing is that the person that's actually streaming, they're just starting, so we're gonna raid them as soon as they start. So, you know, I do want to do some other stuff of kind of like breaking down certain stuff like this. I don't know exactly what I want to do further of doing this because, like, you know, there's character designs, there's a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about, but I think character designs was something that I always wanted to do. Maybe we could apply like how to do creature designs. I really suck at creature designs. We can see if my lessons could actually teach me how to do creature designs. But I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like doing this. I did this all on a whim, and I was like, oh, I don't know if we'll get like really far today with it. And then we covered like everything that I wanted to cover, and then we also got to like apply it and see how you can apply it to things and like how to do it. It's not really that complicated when you start thinking about it. I hope I broke down what like the basics of character design enough for people, because I think that a lot of people just don't really go over it too much. And you know, could this be broken down further? Oh yeah, 100%. I think that could be broken down even way further. And you know, I don't even care if people correct me. I don't really care if people correct me and they go, actually, that's wrong. I'll be like, you know what? You know what? Let me see. And then be like, oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. I was wrong. Yes, I know. You want to go. Can we wait like 3 minutes? Can you wait like 3 to 4 minutes? Can you wait 3 to 4 minutes? I don't think that my little munch will be able to fully be able to do it. All right. I'm just gonna get. Let me just like make sure I'm spelling the name correctly. Okay. So after the ads go, we'll be, of course, rating out. But I do appreciate everybody that did pop in, that joined, and everything. Again, I will make sure to, you know, post up certain things when I can. Again, this video will be coming out, and I'll just put it under a playlist called, like, Art Teaches Art, so that then you guys can rewatch any of these kinds of like lessons things. Maybe another thing that we might go over is like scene breakdowns and compositions, because I think that's another thing that a lot of people talk about, but they don't really just. I think that there are a lot of breakdowns. There's a lot of things that do talk about it, but I think like most of the time it's talking about like animation style, but like, you know, you mostly talk about composition and stuff with animation, but you don't really talk about it when it comes to illustration work for some reason. And I'm like, why not? Like, when you should do the exact same thing. So. Ugh. But yeah, I'm gonna probably need to get up and stretch, because I only took like one. I only took away for like one break, and I'm almost done with this water. Almost done with my second thing of water. Hey, you know what? It's good. I'm hydrating. But now I also need to go to the bathroom. That's how it is. But I'm glad that I was. You know what the funny thing is? Like, most classes I feel like in college were like 3 hours. So you basically sat through a college class. You're welcome. Hi everyone, welcome back. I was just kind of talking about in the ads that we might do another one of composition, of doing composition, of like what composition is, how to tackle different compositions, and that you can use compositions not only just for animation work, but especially for illustration work. Because I think a lot of people don't understand how to do compositions well. And also talk about tangents. That's something that I think a lot of people don't talk about. And how to identify them. How to identify a tangent. I think that might be another nice little art lesson. I will probably plan that one a little bit better. Because this one I just like planned day of. Jose, are you still in the chat? If you can't, can you do the command raid or no? I think he might have dipped. Then let me just do the raid, and then I will... Oh, thank you, Jose! So everyone can grab the raid message, as we are gonna raid my good friend, Koen... Oh my gosh. Koen Haru. He is a Panda VTuber. He is currently playing through Silk Song. He plays a lot of... Oh my gosh. We could have used Silk Song to break down character designs. Maybe we'll have like a whole entire session of breaking down character designs. If I thought a little bit more on this, we probably would have had that. And just like done a whole entire like lesson thing. So, but I do want to thank you guys for joining this little impromptu art lesson, or Art Teaches Art. I don't know when we'll do it again, but when I do, I will plan it out so much better. Alright. Okay, my dog, yeah, my dog really wants me to go. So I will just end it off here. And as I always say, may the stars guide you. Until next time. Goodbye, everybody!